Did you play the WTF Trump lawyers game? Like, what are they actually? What the is it? Are they talking about? Right, meandering and angry. The law firm.
And next up for Trump is the what?
Charlie Brown's teacher.
That'd be better. That'd be better. I don't.
There are senators that are good people, and you like those senators.
What's the comedy club in where is it that you Flappers? Didn't that like your first set at Flappers? Didn't it remind you a little bit? Hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
You a senator from where? Pennsylvania? Hey. Hi. Hey, remember record players?
Can I get a ride?
Well, I think it was our side that good or were they that bad? And I think the answer is both. I mean, Jamie Raskin yesterday. Let's listen to a little, Carlos.
In other words, conduct that would be a high crime and misdemeanor in your first year as president, and your second year as president, and your third year as president, and for the vast majority of your fourth year as president, you can suddenly do in your last few weeks in office without facing any constitutional accountability at all. This would create a brand new January exception to the Constitution of the United States of America.
I mean, Carlos, I don't know if you watched the whole 13-minute video, but that and his closing, talking about his daughter and his son that just took his own life. I don't know how you could be a human and not cry.
It's so sad. But what Riskin fails to address is that the brand new January exception can only exist with complicit Republicans.
Yep.
Because we could try that January exception, but Democrats would not go for it like the Republican senators
it's his.
would.
I shot
they aren't
somebody.
as complicit.
It's I shot somebody on Fifth Avenue. What are you going to do about it? I mean, it really
in
is.
January, and you can't do anything about it. And so
one more, Jamie Raskin. One more here.
Senators, the president was impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives on January 13th for doing that. You ask what a high crime and misdemeanor is under our Constitution? That's a high crime and misdemeanor. If that's not an impeachable offense, then there is no such thing.
Yeah, I mean, just him crying and saying, senators, this can't be America. This can't be what we've decided America is.
It's like...
Yeah, go ahead.
They watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and are like, boring.
Yeah.
It's like, we forget that they have no soul. They have one purpose in mind, and that's to keep power.
Yeah.
And it's really sad.
Yep.
No matter how much evidence. And what's alarming is, or what is in conjunction with the reason that the arguments for the Democrats are so strong is because we have the truth. It's also the reason why Greg Gutfeld is not funny, because
you're right. We have a better case, and we have better lawyers, and we have better comedians. You're
yes,
right.
because our comedians derive their material from truth.
Yes.
Gutfeld and Republican lawyers' arguments are bereft of truth. That's why they're not as strong. They don't have that foundation. And that's why the Democrats are much, much more to the point with their arguments.
Yeah. Joe Neguse, let's listen to him yesterday. He did a great job as well.
President Trump was not impeached for run-of-the-mill corruption, misconduct. He was impeached for inciting a violent insurrection, an insurrection where people died in this building, an insurrection that desecrated our seat of government. And if Congress were just to stand completely aside in the face of such an extraordinary crime against the Republic, it would invite future presidents to use their power without any fear of accountability.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the strongest arguments, isn't it? It's precedent. We can't just go, this is fine. This is fine. You know.
But you know who can, Stephanie, and we argued about it, and I don't know if you have time, is the far left. surprisingly
Oh, no.
absent.
This is
in
where
their
Carlos drags
criticism.
me into his Jimmy Dore fights.
No, because this is important. This is how our party exists.
Yeah.
If the far left wants to argue that corporate democracy left a void for populism, we could debate that all night long, but that leaves out racism and fear. That's another debate.
Yeah.
What you're saying in the far left is, you are responsible for Trump being on the horizon. Okay, fine, let's have that argument. Will you help us stop him? No! Because that will not address my phony Don Quixote idealism. We get it. I voted for Bernie in the primary, but here comes Trump. I'm with you. No, I won't help you defeat this guy. And now you won't even talk about it because it won't assuage your guilt for opening the door for him to get in the first place.
No, I don't.
That's why you don't want to address it.
Carlos, we just said it yesterday. I mean, Travis, unless I missed it, I haven't heard a peep from Susan Sarandon
No,
about
I've
Donald
seen
Trump
great
for
pictures
4
of
years,
pasta.
and now she just beat up a Biden and the Democrats over
From her
COVID payments. When
$1.7
he
million
always ran
home.
on 1,400, which would make 2,000, she just accused him of bait and switch. I'm like, you haven't said a word about the
Nothing.
genocide that just took place on Donald Trump's watch, and I can't.
It is the same symptom of Trump.
Yeah.
They can't admit that they're wrong, Stephanie, and that's what's glaringly scary. You suffer from the same symptoms as this maniac.
Yeah.
I can never be wrong. It's only the corporate Democrats. Yes, we've not done things correctly. We get that. We love your ideals. The planet is in trouble. We want climate change. We want health care for all, but your strategy sucks. After the primary, when you knew evil was at the
Right.
door, it was your duty to help us stop that evil.
All right, let's move on. I would like an answer how I can be a corporate Democrat, Travis, when I've only worked in my basement and now in my attic. I can't even seem to work from a main floor.
And now you have sun shining directly on your face too.
Sunshine on my shoulders.
And so
is
you look
so lovely.
you look really washed out. It's kind of like
I know.
wow.
There's nothing I can do about it at a certain time of
Right,
day. Well, you were
exactly.
like, oh, can't you hold a book? I'm like, well, unless I physically hold a book,
Well,
who
then-
else is going to do it?
Well, then hold a book. You're working in a library right now.
I'm talking and hosting. Okay, here's Joe Neguse.
Professor Turley argued that the House could have impeached and the Senate could have tried Richard Nixon after he resigned. His quote on this, very telling. Quote, future presidents could not assume that mere resignation would avoid a trial of their conduct in the United States Senate. Finally, last quote from Professor Turley, that no man in no circumstance can escape the account which he owes to the laws of his country. Not my words, not Lead Manager Raskin's words, Professor Jonathan Turley's words. I agree with him.
Yeah, that was pretty brilliant,
Yeah.
I thought. They not just Turley. Neguse cited the opinions of several conservative legal scholars and past Trump impeachment witness, assuring that impeaching a former president is constitutional. And the one professor they tried to quote, did you see, went on Rachel last night and also tweeted
Yeah.
and said they totally mischaracterized what I said. He's a law professor, and he was arguing, what he was saying is you could argue this, but here's why that would be wrong. They just took the part where he said you could
Yes.
argue this to say like he was agreeing and he was not agreeing.
That is so Trumpian to
I know.
do that, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see Jonathan Turley yesterday went on a little screed on Twitter saying, well, he was saying something that I said 10 years ago. I wrote something 2 weeks ago that was completely different.
Right.
This is the Marjorie Greene Taylor defense. This is what
Taylor
I said
Greene.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Such a fifth grade tactic, as our opening lawyer said. They're going to use parlor tricks.
Yes.
That's all they got. They don't have the truth.
Yeah.
They have parlor tricks.
Castor, I was just love. They were saying, first of all, I'm not a lawyer, Travis. Is it good to say you're just winging it? Because the other side was so good. So I'm just, and he had notes, but it seemed this was my favorite part. He said, I saw a headline, Representative so-and-so seems to walk back comments about, I forget what, something that bothered her. So I'm not sure what, okay.
He didn't prepare.
Oh, he did not. And he had notes.
Right.
Okay.
No,
All right.
There's
On
no-
our side, David Cicilline did a great job. Here he is.
that's what I was talking
Counter the undisputed evidence of what actually happened in this case. You'll see video clips. They'll show video clips of other politicians, including Democratic politicians, using what they consider incendiary language. Apparently, they think this will establish some sort of equivalency, or that it will show in contrast that President Trump's statements at the Save America rally weren't so bad. Like so much of what President Trump's lawyers might say today, that's a gimmick.
By the way, Carlos, I thought that even further made our case because none of them incited violence or an insurrection. They weren't talking about violence.
They confront somebody in public and you're allowed to be a little vociferous, but that is not lying for months about a stolen election and fomenting that anger. And they're not sitting presidents. There's a huge difference.
Thank you. And
what I tweeted, it's a false equivalency tour.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whataboutis. Oh, what about the one time Maxine Waters said the one thing? It's like, okay, yes. David Cicilline, one more.
It's a parlor game meant to inflame partisan hostility and play on our divisions. So let me be crystal clear. President Trump was not impeached because the words he used, viewed in isolation, without context, were beyond the pale. Plenty of other politicians have used strong language. But Donald J. Trump was president of the United States. He sought to overturn a presidential election that had been upheld by every single court to consider it.
To your point, Carlos. So WTF with Mitch McConnell. So he was used as part of Democrats' video presentation. He will not whip his caucus, they're reporting, to vote against the conviction of Trump. McConnell is signaling to Senate Republicans he will not be holding them to uniform opposition of the incitement or insurrection charge against Trump. That would free Republican senators to vote to convict without any fear of punishment within the conference. It would also remove pressure from some Senate Republicans who have so far voted against constitutionality of the trial. He also suggested he hasn't made his own mind up how he'll vote. Two of the people said even though he voted to declare it unconstitutional, I mean, first of all, he's like, he's the one that delayed it so that it wasn't during Trump's presidency. So then he votes it's unconstitutional when he was the one. Okay, so he's all over the place. He's all over the place. But
no, he's not Queen's Gambit. He's just a drunk in the park trying to move chess pieces on the board. So it's like I don't know if there are any family members outside of that marriage that he has, keep your kids away from them. They're poison. This is what makes me mad about Republicans. You have children.
Right.
It's not that you're not just setting an example for the country, for your kids.
Right.
They have to look at you, and they're going to find out in college, like, Dad, Mom, did you really do this?
Right.
What the hell? I hate you. Get out of my life. That moment is coming for these people.
Can I just say,
smart.
Speaking of the children real quick, we were saying, because everyone's going, what is with this pedophilia thing with QAnon? And them accusing and they're saying, oh my God, it's projection. Because you're going, are we crazy? Epstein was Trump's best friend, and Trump was accused of raping a 14-year-old.
As Travis said.
Like,
his lawyer represented him.
Travis tweeted that. It was excellent.
What's his name? George Nadal. There's all these. You're like, oh, I see. It's projection because they're the pedophiles.
Right.
Because some of the stuff, the QAnon theories, Carlos, they're too dark for us normal people to even think of. Right?
Yeah.
Drinking babies' bloods and taking
Wearing
their
their
faces.
faces.
That's a Goya painting right there.
But like
right?
this,
Drinking blood.
this one and all the impeachment stuff. Oh, this is so gross to even talk about. Just since you brought up, they have children. A former aide to Trump was arrested in D.C. and charged with receiving, possessing, and distributing child porn.
Oh.
He worked on Trump's 2020 re-election campaign. Was previously employed as a senior digital strategist for the Senate Republican Conference and Republican National Committee. He was, this is nice. He was also the digital media coordinator for the anti-abortion group, Students for Life of America. So he's all about the children. He allegedly told another person in the April of 2020 that he was into sexually assaulting babies.
Oh my God.
So you like babies, huh? The person asked. My absolute favorite, he replied. I've been wanting to see videos of guys hardcore raping a baby. When a baby screams, it's my favorite. It then details video files exchanged between him and the other person involving an infant being anally raped by an adult male. He then invites the other person to come to D.C. for the purpose of sexually abusing a minor. I mean, because I'm like, where did this all come from? And I'm like, oh, it's projection. I mean, who's even, that's the first time I've even heard of or read anything that disgusting, right?
Yes. It's disgusting. And again, I'll steer it back to where I want to go. And then you're going to have a guy like Jimmy Dore go on Tucker Carlson. He's going to go on Tucker Carlson and defend this kind of language under the guise that it's fascism, which literally it's not, because they're private entities trying to get rid of material like this on their sites. So how bad does the right have to get before the far left helps us take them down?
I hear
instead
you.
of attacking us? This is why I bring it back to that, Stephanie,
I
because
understand.
that is one thing, but it all ties in.
You know what the other
If you're
thing
gonna
is?
streak-
It's 48 minutes after the hour.